Again, this is B207B. We are going to explain week 13 today. This is week 13. It covers block 3, session 13, leadership and management. Can anybody remind me what was the topic? What was the title of block 3?
Long-term of success.
Long-term success, exactly. So long-term success, last time we did relationship marketing and internal marketing. And we showed how they are related to the long-term success of the organization. Today, we are going to speak about leadership. Leadership and management, how do you think they are related to the success of the organization, specifically long-term success? Do we need the right leaders, the right leadership skills in the organization to make our company successful on the long term? Yes, so what do you think?
Maybe their ideas and their plan for the future of the organization.
Yes, absolutely. So there should be plans. There should be not only short-term planning, but also long-term planning in order to succeed in the long term. So this is the job of leaders and managers to make sure we are going on the right track for the long term. Okay, so what is leadership? What is the meaning of leadership? It's a very important part of developing any ideas in business. Leadership is associated with taking an organization into the future. So this is exactly what is needed for long-term success. It's to take the organization into the future and finding opportunities that are coming at it faster and faster, and also successfully exploiting those opportunities. So the leaders will have plans and they will also look at opportunities that are always coming because the markets are always changing. The market requirements, the customer requirements are always changing, and this is why leaders should hold on these opportunities and make sure they take advantage of those opportunities. So what is exactly is leadership? And how is it different to management? So in this session, we will look at the difference between management and leadership. Okay, so let's try to think ourselves before we dig into the difference between a manager and a leader. Can you give me examples? Or in your own understanding, do you know what is the difference between a leader and a manager? A leader has a small group. Okay. Anyone on the VC? Let's look at this slide and let's think about let's discuss what is leadership. These are some of the things that leaders do, and these are some of the things that leaders do, that managers do. On the right side are managers, on the left side are leaders. Definitely they have things in common. Okay, so here in the middle, we have things that both managers and leaders need to do. So both of them empower their employees. They trust them, they develop them, and they try their best to get the best out of them. Okay? They use their influence, whether their power because of their position, or they use their influence because they are charismatic, because they are people who, you know, have a psychological influence on others. Okay, now leaders are at a higher scale of managers. When we say a leader looks into the future. They decide what's going to happen into the future. Leaders create change, okay? And also they inspire through creative vision. So all these three give you the idea that leaders are for the long term. Leaders, what they do is they plan and they have big plans. Managers, on the other hand, they want to get things done. They want to focus on what's going on right now and make sure we do it successfully. Okay? So managers focus on stability and maintaining a steady ship. What is a steady ship? Ship هي البخرة, right? We want to make sure that our company, the ship that we are in, is moving in the right direction, in the direction that the leaders has told us to go. Yes, yes, at the right time as well. Okay, so the managers are the drivers of this ship. Okay, but the leaders are the one who decides where we are going. All right, same thing in an organization. Inside the organization, the leader decides which decisions to make and where we are going on the long run, while the managers have to do whatever the leaders have decided. Okay, by using their team, by using their employees, the people under them, they instruct them and they guide them, and they manage teams to get to where we are supposed to be getting. Okay? So a manager controls complexity through processes, focuses on things, focuses on stability, and so on. Okay, so let me give you some examples, some real life example. Apple. Do you know a leader in Apple? Who is one very famous person who has led Apple to its very successful years? Yes, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat?
I think it's Tim Cook.
Tim Cook is currently here, yes. This is an example of a leader who decides where to take the organization. Before Tim Cook, Steve Jobs. The history will remember that Steve Jobs took Apple from being a very, just any company to a higher level into the future. Okay, so this is an example of a leader. A manager, on the other hand, is a person who is responsible to manage the daily activities and to make sure that the plans that were set to him by those leaders are actually being accomplished, executed. لا, الليدر بيعطي instructions للمانجر. Okay, المانجر makes sure that the execution, يعني التنفيذ, okay, التنفيذ is being done and on time. The leadership as process model includes the influence of followership and illustrates the relationship between leadership and followership. Every time you have a leader, you have some people following the leader. Okay, so the concept of leadership also includes the concept of followership. One of the challenge of thinking about leadership is the context in which it occurs. You can think about military leaders. You can think about social leaders. You could think about business leaders. Okay, so multi-level leadership is common and desirable in organizations. So not only the highest level leader in the organization, but also leaders could be at any level of the organization. You know, leadership is also a spirit. If you have this leadership spirit, you can influence others to do things at any level of the organization and not necessarily at the top level. So, but here in business, we are interested in strategic leadership. Okay, the word strategy means usually includes the long-term aspect. So strategic leadership theories are premised on the belief that strategic leadership is the leader's ability to influence others to make day-to-day decisions that enhance the long-term viability of the organization. This is what we have been explaining till now. In order to do this, groups must be aware of the core aims of the organization in order to work together to achieve them. So we have Apple. We have different groups inside Apple. We have the research and development, we have marketing, we have operations, and also subgroups inside each business function. Each group should be working alone, not alone, in coordination with other groups, but each group will be responsible for a certain aspect of the delivery of the final product to the customer. Strategic leadership recognizes that although many researchers place great emphasis on strategic management, rational processes, and planning, there is little coverage of the role that intuition and emotion play in the processes of leading an organization. You will notice that most of the great leaders have great intuition. What does intuition mean? Intuition. Look it up on Google. شو يعني بالعربي intuition؟ أنا ما عم أتذكر الكلمة exactly شو يعني بالعربي. So just look it up.
حدس أو بديهة.
Exactly. الحس. Intuition means sometimes you make a decision based on your intuition, right? Based on directly you think that this is the right thing that I need to do. This is what intuition. Okay, so yes, سرعة البديهة ولا so this is also very important for a leader, is to have this intuition and emotion playing in the process as much as the scientific models and decision making and so on. So the leadership not only sets the purpose, but in so doing must be prepared to face opposition from stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in the organization? We have employees, we have managers, we have customers, we have the publics around the organization. All these are stakeholders. And intermediaries as well. So any decision that the leader makes, right? Any decision will affect, it will influence some stakeholders. Sometimes it affects them negatively, and sometimes there is an opposition. So if a leader says, we need to increase the production, so we need to work extra hours, for example. Okay, this might be faced by, this will probably be faced by an opposition from the employees. Okay, they are not willing to work extra hours, for example. So any decision made, if not taken, if not delivered well by the leaders, will not be taken well by the stakeholders. This vision of leadership resonates with the work of individuals within the organization. So the leader, it's extremely important for the leader to always have the logic and to have the reason, a good reasoning of why he or she is taking these decisions, because they want others to be convinced. Once these others are convinced, they are happy about these decisions, they will definitely do whatever it takes to take the company to long-term success. Leadership is not just a top-down process, but permeates the organization at every level. So not only, the good leaderships, they don't send their orders from top to bottom. They discuss, they convince, they tell people this is this is the decision that is best for each and every one of us. Okay, so now in reading 22, we are going to identify leaders as different types. So a leader could be a person, okay? Based on the person, it's who leaders that makes them leaders. Okay, so let me go to the slide that says it focuses on an individual's personality and qualities to define their potential as a leader. So it's based on a person, the charisma of the person, who they are, and so on. Much of this approach to leadership derives from the idea that good leaders have certain traits that inspire their followers. Okay? Do you know a leader that you are, that you like because of their personality, because of their person, because of who they are? Do you have any examples of leaders? So this leader, when this leader talks, people listen to him. People look up at him because it's who he is. He definitely makes sense when he talks. He is very powerful in the way he articulates his wording and so on. Okay? So the fascination with this type of model derives largely from the ability of individuals who possess such charisma. They motivate their staff, they attract media coverage, political patronage of the organization. So always there is media to what they are saying. Okay, the owner of Amazon, for example, okay, is seen to be a leader in the business world. Okay, Bill Gates, a leader in the business world, and so on. Leadership as a result. Some people are leaders because of the results that they achieve. Okay, for example, in a school leader are held responsible for the results of the students. So if the students do well, we can say this is a good leader. If the students don't do well, we will say this is not a good leader. Okay, so here the result of whatever we are doing is deciding if what kind of leader that is. Leadership as position. This form of leadership is based on the position of the leader within a hierarchical power structure. Yani, which position this leader has in our organization. Most of the times, leaders in organizations have high levels because they need to be given some power to use this power in order to achieve results. So it is premised upon the idea that in order to lead effectively, it depends upon how far up the hierarchy you are positioned. So the higher position you have in the organization, the more power you will have. Okay, And this is what leadership as position means. Okay? Another type is leadership as purpose. So here it depends on what purpose the leader has. Okay? Does he have a profit purpose? Does he have a non-profit purpose? For example, some people have ethical purpose. Some people want to help the poor. Okay, this is another type of leader. So what type of purpose does this person have? Maybe nowadays you have a lot of purposes in business as well. Sustainability, ethical, profit. Okay, so what is the purpose that you are working for? It will define who you are as a leader. Leadership as a process. So this is based on the assumption that people that we attribute the term leadership to act differently from non-leaders. The leadership as a process model was developed by Pierce and Dunham and is premised upon the idea that there are 4 key factors that contribute to leadership. Okay, so here it gets a little bit more complicated. We are going to look at this process as 4 boxes. So we have 4 boxes here. Here in the middle, we have the leader. Okay, in the green box, we have the leader. It's the individual who leads and directs groups, group performance. And this leader is influenced by followers, by outcomes, and by context. Okay? So notice that all these boxes influence each other's. You have 2-way arrows between them. So the leader influences followers, but also followers influence the leader. They give them feedback. They give him ideas. Okay? This is how they will influence. Because based on who those followers are, the leader wants to appeal to them. Yani it's like these followers are the target for this leader. So he has to speak in their language. He has to appeal to them, attract them in a certain way. Okay? So this is the relationship between leader and followers. Also, we have a relationship between leader and context. The context is the environment that we are working in, the resources that we have, the events within the organization, the country that we are operating in, the culture. The competitors that we have around us, all of this forms the context, المحتوى يعني. Where we are, okay? Where we are operating, it definitely will affect the leader's decisions and how to deal with the decisions. Okay? Another thing that also influences the leader and the leader influence is the outcomes, the results of the leadership process. These may be goal-directed or based around softer elements. So what is the leader able to achieve? He is able to achieve certain outcomes. These outcomes will also affect the leader to make better decisions and more decisions into the future, into the long-term success of the organization. Okay? Now also, followers and context affect each other's. Okay? Followers and outcomes. So all of these, always working together in order to create success for the organization. Any questions about this process? Yes, anyone? So here we have an example. Jake joined a firm specializing in cutting-edge IT solutions because he was passionate in his belief that high-tech equipment can change lives. So Jake is a person. This is an IT person. and he joined a firm specializing in IT. However, 2 weeks into the job, he realized that the CEO was in fact a bit of a Luddite where technology is concerned. Luddite means he has a low knowledge. So the CEO of an IT company has low knowledge in IT. Okay, so let me go back to this model. This is the CEO and the green box here in the middle. Okay, and Jake is a follower because he's an employee. So he's a follower in the purple box here. Okay. Now the context is an IT firm, that should be always on top of things. Should always have the new technology, should always have the newest technology available. This is the context. Okay, this is what we have, this is what we need to do. But it seems that the leader is not a good match with the context. Okay, so here comes some conflicts between because the leader is not a good match of the context. Okay, remember, this process is not always a perfect process. Oh, there could always be problems, there could always be mistakes in the process. Okay, so as the rationale for the strategy was being driven by someone who seemed to have little IT knowledge, Jake lost heart in the organization and became demotivated. 6 months later, he resigned. So Jake is here. Okay, there is a mismatch between the leader and the context that we have here. The follower is not influenced, is not motivated anymore because this leader was not able to influence or to motivate this follower. So what did he do? He just resigned. He left the organization, and this is a result of a leader being in the wrong position, not in the right place. Okay, so this case tells us that the leader should be in the right position, being able to influence, okay, all of these boxes around him or her. Okay, so this is all for today. Do you have any questions? Oh, you're welcome.